Hello to my YouTube family. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to discuss the goals of psychology. So we have four types of goals in psychology, but the basic purpose of psychology is to study the emotions, the personality, the thinking patterns of a behavior, and specifically the behavioral patterns of a person. So we can study all of these aspects through different experiments, observations, and research. So the four goals which we are going to study is to describe behavior, to explain behavior, to predict behavior, and to control or change the behavior. The basic purpose behind describing, explaining, and predicting the behavior is to alter or to change certain atypical behaviors, right? So the first one is to describe the behavior. Now, what is the meaning of description of a behavior? It means you will have to identify the type of behavior, either it is typical behavior or it is atypical behavior. So let's read how people think, feel, and act in scientific situation or specific situations. Descriptions help psychologists to distinguish between typical and atypical behaviors and gain more accurate understandings of human and animal behaviors and thoughts. A variety of research methods, including case studies, surveys, self tests, and natural observations, allow psychologists to pursue this goal. So, what is the difference between typical and atypical behavior? Typical behaviors are basically those behaviors which are accepted by the society, which are according to the norms set by the society, right? Which are legal in nature. And atypical behaviors are those behavior which are opposite of typical behaviors, which are not accepted by the society, which are negative in nature, which are harmful, right? So basically, description of behavior explains whether the behavior is typical or it is atypical. So this is the first goal of psychology. Now, after description of a certain behavior, the second step comes, that is to explain behavior. Now, once we have categorized either it is typical or atypical, we have to explain the reasons behind that typical or atypical behavior. What are the hidden reasons which leads toward certain behavior? So let's read this. In addition to describing, psychologists seek to be able to explain behaviors. The goals of explaining is to provide answers to the questions about why people react to certain stimuli in certain ways, how various factors impact personalities and mental health, and so on. Psychologists often use experiments which measure the impacts of variables upon behaviors to help formulate theories that explain aspects of human and animal behavior. So here it means that after the description of behavior, psychologists seek to understand the underlying reasons behind those behaviors. That what if we are considering two individuals uh, and we have given them specific and similar situations, but the reactions of those two individuals will be different. So why those reactions will be different? On the basis of certain factors, some hidden factors. Maybe they are personality traits, maybe they are some other thinking and cognitive patterns which are different, which leads towards different outcomes. So we have to highlight those hidden reasons which leads towards the difference in individuals, the difference in the behaviors of certain individuals, right? So this is all about the second step. The second goal is to explain behavior. Now, the third one is to predict behavior. Now, once we have described the behavior, either it is typical or atypical in nature, after we have given certain reasons for that specific behavior, that is the explanation of the behavior. The third one is to predict behavior. Either that behavior, that specific behavior, will occur in the future as well, or it will not occur in the future, right? What are the reasons and what are the aspects of that specific behaviors which a person will follow in the same circumstances in the future? So let's read this. Making predictions about how humans and animals will think and act in the third goal of psychology. By looking at past observed behavior, describing and explaining, psychologists aim to predict how that behavior may appear again in the future, as well as whether others might exhibit the same behavior. It means that either the person is going to behave in a similar way that is in the present circumstances, or it will change its specific behavior. For example, in a certain situation a person is aggressive, but if in under same circumstances in the future, like after 5 months, after 7 months, after 2 years, either the person is going to show the same type of behavior, or it will change its behavior on certain factors, on the basis of certain factors. So we have to make predictions about the future behavior on the basis of the description and explanation of the behavior. So, psychologists can use knowledge from previous studies to predict when, why, and how observed behaviors might happen in the future. Psychologists can then foresee a pattern of behavior. By being able to predict patterns of behavior, psychologists can better understand the underlying causes of our actions. It means that once we explain and predict the behavior, as a psychologist we can understand the circumstances more better, in a more better way, right? So what are the causes which leads towards certain behaviors, either it is typical or atypical? Once we get to know the causes of that specific behavior, so it is very important at that time that we as a psychologist can alter or change the behavior, which is the last goal of psychology, that is to change the behavior. Once we are familiar with the hidden roots, with the hidden facts behind the behavior, we can alter or change the behavior very easily, right? So let's read from the slides. Psychology aims to change, influence, or control behavior to make positive, constructive, meaningful, and lasting changes in people's lives, and to influence their behaviors for the better. This is the final and most important goal of psychology. So basically, why we are studying the goals of psychology is to describe the behavior, is to find out the root causes behind certain behaviors, and then to alter or change the behaviors that are atypical in nature, that are not required, right? So the last goal is to change the behavior that is not appropriate in nature, that is not appropriate according to the society. These four goals of psychology are not that different from how you would naturally interact with others. Suppose, for instance, that someone did something they are not supposed to do, and this action had a negative impact on their life. You may want to try to help or resolve the issue, and the following questions might naturally run through your mind. What happened? It means to describe the behavior. Why did they do that? It means what are the reasons behind that, is the explanation of that specific behavior. What will it happen again, or when will it happen again? Or it is the third goal, that is the prediction of the behavior. Either it will happen again or it will not happen. And the last one is, if there are chances that it will happen again, so what are the reasons, how we can change, or how we can alter that specific behavior so it will not happen again in the future, right? So these are the four goals of psychology. Let's understand these goals with the help of an example. So, I have taken an example from psychology itself. This is an experiment of psychology which comes under the classical conditioning. I will explain classical conditioning in the later lectures, but for now, I am giving a brief explanation and understanding of the goals, the implementation of the goals through this example, right? So, in this example, at first, the dog salivated only when it saw the food, right? So, this is called describing behavior. Here, we can see easily that the dog salivate when it see the food in front of him. So, salivation is the result of the food, right? So, this is the first step, and this is the description of the behavior. That is the first goal of psychology. Then, after that, we will be associating the bell with the food. It means that every time before giving the food, the bell was rung. Now the dog got used to the bell and learned that when the bell rings, it will get food. It means that at this stage, when the bell rings, the dog starts salivating, because he knows that after the bell appeared, he will get the food, right? So he starts salivating. So this is called explanation and prediction of the behavior, right? This is the second and the third goal of the psychology. And the last one is like, here if you see, the bell is ringing and the dog starts salivating. But if we want to change or alter the specific behavior, what we are supposed to do? What we are supposed to do in the last thing, in the last point, uh, if we want to change the dog's behavior in the future, we can ring the bell but not give food, right? So in this way, the association with the food will stop, and the dog will not salivate when it hears the bell, right? After ringing the bell, we are not going to give him food, so the association will be finished, and his behavior of salivation will be finished accordingly, right? So this is the example of explanation, description, prediction, and altering or change in the certain behavior. So this was all about today's lecture. The four important goals of psychology. We will be discussing the branches of psychology and the key issues of psychology in our next lecture. So till